The new ruling class. For most of human history, wealth was physical. Land, factories, oil, gold, military power. The people controlling physical resources controlled civilization itself. Kings ruled through territory. Empires ruled through armies. Industrialists ruled through infrastructure. But something fundamental is changing. Quietly, rapidly, almost invisibly. A new form of wealth is emerging. Digital wealth. And it is creating an entirely new elite class. Because for the first time in history, people no longer need physical empires to accumulate enormous power. Now, power can be built through algorithms, software platforms, data, artificial intelligence, digital attention, and the terrifying part is, most people still do not understand how radically this changes society. Because digital wealth scales differently from traditional wealth. Faster, cheaper, globally. A teenager with a laptop can now build systems capable of reaching millions overnight. An AI company can gain billions in valuation before becoming profitable. A creator can influence more people than entire television networks once controlled. This is not simply economic evolution. It is the birth of a digital aristocracy. The internet destroyed the old economic world. For centuries, wealth required physical scale. Factories, employees, transportation, supply chains, infrastructure, capital. Building wealth was slow, expensive, difficult. But the internet removed many of those limitations. Now, one piece of software can scale globally almost instantly. One algorithm can influence billions. One platform can dominate entire industries. And this created something unprecedented: infinite scalability. Because physical businesses scale linearly, digital systems scale exponentially. A factory requires labor, geography, logistics, materials. A software platform requires code, servers, users. And once digital systems gain momentum, they often become unstoppable. This is why technology companies became more powerful than many nations within only a few decades. Not because they worked slightly harder, but because digital infrastructure compounds at planetary scale. Attention became the most valuable resource. Industrial society extracted physical resources. Digital society extracts human attention. And attention became one of the most valuable assets on Earth. Because wherever attention flows, money follows. This is why platforms aggressively compete for clicks, engagement, watch time, emotional reactions, psychological dependency, because attention eventually converts into advertising revenue, behavioral data, political influence, consumer manipulation, economic power. This created a terrifying reality. The people controlling digital attention increasingly control culture itself. And many modern billionaires did not become wealthy by producing physical goods. They became wealthy by controlling digital ecosystems, search engines, social media, streaming platforms, AI systems, e-commerce infrastructure. Because once human life becomes digital, digital infrastructure becomes civilization itself. The new elite understands leverage. One of the biggest differences between old wealth and digital wealth is leverage. In the past, wealth scaled through labor. Now wealth scales through code. A single creator can reach hundreds of millions. A single AI system can automate entire industries. A single app can generate billions in value. This changes economic power fundamentally. Because digital systems allow a tiny number of people to influence massive populations simultaneously. And eventually, this creates extreme concentration of wealth. This is why modern inequality feels different from previous eras. Because digital markets often become winner-take-all systems, monopoly, ecosystems, algorithmic empires. Once a platform dominates attention, it becomes extremely difficult to compete against it. This is why companies like Google, Meta, and Amazon accumulated power at unprecedented speed. Because digital systems reward scale aggressively, and scale compounds exponentially. Digital wealth is largely invisible. The old elite class looked obvious. Kings, politicians, industrial tycoons, oil barons. But the new elite often appears invisible. Tech founders, platform owners, AI companies, cloud infrastructure firms, algorithm designers, people sitting behind screens quietly shaping communication, information, economics, public opinion, human behavior itself. And because digital systems operate invisibly, most people never fully see where power actually exists anymore. This creates dangerous asymmetrical control, because modern civilization increasingly depends on systems controlled by very few individuals. Cloud infrastructure, search engines, digital payment systems, AI ecosystems, social media platforms, online identity systems, and whoever controls these systems increasingly controls modern society itself. The internet created a new social hierarchy. The internet changed status itself. In the past, status came from land, political position, industrial ownership, family lineage. Now status increasingly comes from visibility, audience attention, followers, digital relevance, online influence. This created a new form of social capital: internet attention. And internet attention now converts directly into wealth influence, leverage power, political reach. A creator with millions of followers may now possess more influence than traditional celebrities once had. And this changes human psychology profoundly, because identity itself becomes tied to visibility. People no longer simply compete economically. They compete algorithmically, for relevance, for attention, for digital survival. And platforms quietly determine who becomes visible, who becomes profitable, who disappears completely. The digital economy rewrote capitalism. Traditional capitalism rewarded ownership, production, industrial scale. Digital capitalism rewards attention, algorithms, network effects, scalability, data. This changes the structure of wealth entirely. Because once digital systems dominate, small advantages become enormous advantages. The biggest platform becomes exponentially bigger. The biggest creator becomes exponentially more visible. The largest AI company gains exponentially more data. This creates runaway concentration. And, eventually, a handful of digital corporations begin controlling communication, commerce, entertainment, infrastructure, information flow at planetary scale. The internet turned human behavior into data. One of the most important shifts in modern history is that human behavior became measurable. Every click, every swipe, every pause, every emotional reaction now becomes data. And data became one of the most valuable resources in the world. Because once human behavior becomes predictable, it also becomes influenceable. This is why modern platforms are obsessed with engagement, retention, behavioral prediction, recommendation systems, because behavioral data creates enormous economic power. And the companies controlling this data may understand human psychology better than governments themselves. The new elite controls digital reality. Throughout history, powerful institutions controlled physical environments, but modern elites increasingly control digital environments. And human beings now spend massive portions of life inside digital systems. Social media, streaming platforms, gaming ecosystems, AI interfaces, online marketplaces, digital finance. And once human experience becomes digital, whoever controls digital environments increasingly controls perception itself. This creates a terrifying possibility: reality manipulation at planetary scale. Because algorithms increasingly decide what people see, what people believe, what people fear, what people desire. And most people never realize how heavily digital systems shape behavior. Artificial intelligence may accelerate everything. Artificial intelligence may dramatically intensify this divide, because AI amplifies leverage at unimaginable scale. The people controlling AI models, computational infrastructure, automation systems, data pipelines may gain unprecedented economic power. And this creates a terrifying possibility. A future where small groups of individuals control systems capable of influencing billions of human decisions in real time, not through military force, but through recommendation systems, predictive algorithms, automated persuasion, personalized digital ecosystems. The future elite may not rule through governments alone, but through invisible systems humanity depends on every single day. The middle class may disappear digitally. The digital economy also creates instability, because scalable systems reduce the need for traditional labor. AI can automate writing, design, programming, customer service analysis, media production. This creates enormous economic efficiency, but also enormous disruption, because people trading labor increasingly compete against scalable systems. And scalable systems do not sleep, do not demand salaries, do not stop growing. This creates a dangerous future possibility, a society where wealth concentrates aggressively among people controlling platforms, algorithms, AI systems, digital infrastructure, while millions struggle to remain economically relevant. Digital dependency creates power. The most powerful systems in history created dependency. Railroads, electricity, oil, banking, and now digital systems are becoming essential infrastructure. People depend on digital platforms for communication work, entertainment, shopping, relationships, identity, financial access, and dependency creates power. Because once billions psychologically depend on digital systems, those systems become almost impossible to escape. This is no longer merely technology. It is civilization architecture. The future may belong to digital empires. Throughout history, civilizations were shaped by whoever controlled land, armies, industrial infrastructure, financial systems. But the next era may belong to whoever controls AI algorithms, data, digital ecosystems, online attention, because digital infrastructure is becoming civilization itself. And perhaps this is the most important economic shift of the modern era. Wealth is no longer merely physical. It is informational, psychological, algorithmic, and increasingly invisible. The frightening truth is, most people still believe they are using digital platforms for convenience, without realizing those platforms may be quietly reshaping power, behavior, economics, identity itself. A new elite is emerging, not built through factories, but through code. And the people controlling the digital world may eventually control the future of civilization itself. Subscribe to Wealth OS for more documentaries on wealth, power, AI, and the hidden psychology behind modern society.